spooky about it. They're all in these few little streets, and a really disproportionate number of their houses burned down. Frank Zappa was there too. And they were all attached to naval intelligence. Jim Morrison too. Was it an experiment on what was going to happen with acid? They gave it to bad musicians.
I love that theory so much.
They polluted psychedelic rock with folk music.
But like the worst of folk music too, like the
barbershop.
Right, like not anything that's not death ballads or any of like the beautiful traditional music.
No, we're thinking things like barbershop music,
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah. Gross. No, that's super fascinating.
There's so much weird shit out there these days.
You don't even need to hunt for conspiracies.
So what's really happening, Jen? I wish I knew.
Maybe, if you wanted to, we could also touch on, since we're talking about technology and development, the Psychic TV has been a video project with music attached since its inception, and that has changed considerably. What that means has changed. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, when we started, we were trying the whole reduction thing again, and Sleazy was working for a company called Hypnosis, who did all those horrible, really expensive Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin Heavy albums, you know, where they'd fly to Morocco and sweep the sand dunes with brushes when they put these balls in a long line across the sand dunes and charge $500,000 for this picture of beach balls on the sand dunes. That's a real one. That's poor little Arab people brushing away the footprint as they move back with these beach balls. And then they started doing videos. And he was very astute. He said, videos are going to be a big thing. And in fact, Throbbing Gristle released 2 videos, the first 2 independent videos that were done worldwide at the time. And we knew it was going to be a really important medium. So we were thinking about a future, you know, extrapolating like we do, reduce it down. So we got this idea. We thought, wouldn't it be great if we could have our own TV channel and it didn't have any editing? Anybody in the world could send in a videotape and we would just put it in the machine when it was the next one and play it, and it might be a tap running for an hour and a half, or it might be people having sex with their boyfriends or girlfriends, or somebody eating a birthday cake, or a song, or a zoo, or it didn't matter. It would all just become fascinating because it was just there, with no explanation and no actual agenda. And a totally unedited 24/7 channel that when you're bored and when nothing else was on at the time, you would be stoned. You go, let's watch that weird channel again. Psychic television. Wow. What's that? It's a dog having a shit. Wow. It's in slow motion. Is it? Oh, it's a tap running. And so on. And we just thought that would be so interesting to do as an experiment. And so that's what we wanted to do, but we couldn't get a TV station. So we did our own version of it on one long videotape. First transmission, which was about 6 hours long.
Yeah. I remember trying to get a copy of it, like a bootleg copy of it when I was in high school. And like it came on like 20 different VHS cassettes.
That was the bootleg version.
Yeah, it was totally the bootleg version.
Yeah, because it kept extending, the people in America, Toby, North America, added more volumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking it literally. So it worked as an idea, but we just didn't have the access that people have now. Now you've got podcasts and everything else.
Right.
It could be done now.
Right.
And Viceland is a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Except all we ever talk about is pot. Like weedy cat. 10 different chefs cook food with pot. Action Bronson smokes pot and eats noisily.
Yes, also war.
disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you don't smoke pot, which I don't.
I mean, weed's not that interesting.
Well, Viceland is that idea sort of reduced a bit, but we still support it because they're trying to do something. And if only they'd stop editing, it would get better.
Agreed.
So we're hoping they'll get the idea slowly. I mean, they're short of content. But who is this Action Bronson anyway?
Oh my
Such a
god.
horrible little troll.
That is a really excellent way of explaining him.
All the food on his beard while he's blabbing. Drives me mad. And then I turn it off. And I turn it back on again. And it's grossly compelling. How much food will he get in that beard?
It would be cool if they did less editing and it would just be like a slow zoom in on the beard.
He's actually just got a great big pile of food with his mouth. See how easy it is to make things more interesting? Just mess around with the ideas a bit.
Yeah.
Change it so quickly.
Easily. Yeah, decontextualize things and they automatically become more interesting.
But the idea we support, although they're bought by some big company, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Vice Media is a huge,
Yeah.
huge company and Fox has a huge stake in it and
Yeah, I don't know. The idea is there, but it's been kind of grappled and squished a bit.
yeah.
But
There's
that was what we were trying to do.
if there were true revolutionary thinkers who did something like that, like you guys.
So we did that, and we got in terrible trouble with Scotland Yard. We had to leave England in the end because of those videos.
Yeah.
For 7 years, we weren't allowed back. But we never stopped the idea that the music and the image had to go together. That psychic television was literally that. It was what you would see in your brain if you were free-flowing and you didn't have a specific agenda in terms of visuals. And so we started to just return to the idea of the cut-up and employ different friends who did videos and films. Derek Jarman used to supply stuff. Who else? John Mabry, who's now a big director. Burroughs let us use his stuff. We used all sorts of people's films and archive materials and our own as well, and just kept on cutting it up and changing it. And now we still always use video, always. In fact, so much so that now we've started all wearing white, so we can't be seen. We don't have any stage lighting on the band. You saw some photos upstairs.
Yeah.
And it's these two people, Sam Zimmerman and come on, get his name right. Oh, I gotta get his name right.
Oh my goodness.
Yoshi Shimamura? Yeah, Yoshi. And
I feel like I'm gonna mess it up.
He's an amazing Japanese animator. And I'm shamed because we always forget his surname. And we've even got it written down on my music stand when we play live so that we won't forget it when we say something. But they do these incredible animations and vivid colours, and we use it, if we can, we just completely cover the stage in that. So you're watching this randomized movie, and the songs aren't synced into what's on the screens, so it's always changing. The associations that you make are different for everybody because your unconscious responds to symbols different ways, colours different ways, memories of different things different ways, and so you're all seeing a different movie, a psychic movie with a soundtrack that's changing and evolving too. And we never got bored with that, and it seems nor does the world outside. Because we're still playing since 1981, and our audiences are getting larger and larger, and younger, which is really exciting. I mean, I would say 50% are under 25.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the ongoing. What would it be? It's almost like a crusade, really, to keep the brain alive and to keep the synapses firing, and to sort of open a zone where you've got a free connection, where you're still able to make free connections, because people are trying to get you to edit your world the way they see it. And so it's really important to keep short-circuiting those controls and breaking those different systems so you can try and see what's really going on, and what's really being said to you. You know, the major media have a very clever invisible language called editing. And edits are used just like people use words to focus your attention in certain ways. We all know it's being done, but we're so used to it just flowing by, we don't always look really closely at where the edits are and what's not there. You know, Burroughs taught me this. We had a long talk about this once. And he said he saw this experiment done by the CIA. And they filmed a riot of miners who were attacking the police in England during all the problems. And they filmed it from behind the police. And of course it looks like the miners are terrible, violent people attacking these poor little cops. But then they filmed it from behind the miners, and it looked like these terrible, vicious, nasty, Nazi policemen were attacking the poor miners. It was the same image from two directions, two completely different conclusions. And they did other experiments where they would edit a film of somebody coming out of their house and going to work, and then they would cut in things like somebody with a dog walking by, a bus went by and stopped, etc. And when the person came home, they'd say, "Do you remember this?" "Oh yeah, I remember that bus. It was never there." You can control people that easily with edits. So remember, there's an invisible language happening constantly on TV, in film, in anything visual. And we should know by now, because we got used to advertising who've stolen it like crazy. You know, Burroughs cut-ups are one of the most important tools of the 20th century for art and understanding of media.
Absolutely. I think we can open up to the crowd for questions now. Which is, can you believe that it has already been 40 minutes? It has. So we can open up to you guys for questions.
And we've got a couple of microphones roaming around, so if you just throw up your hand, we'll come around and
It's a Q&A, people.
Now's your chance.
Come on. Come on.
Hello, I'm a member of a few different occult communities, and one of the very important themes has been the sigil and sigil magic, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, you can buy the Psychic Bible from Feral House Publishing in Washington State, and most of those organizations you mentioned have said that that's probably the most condensed and accurate explanation of sigil magic and sex magic combined that's been published in English, now also in French and Russian. Yeah, it just came out in Russia, the Psychic Bible. Basically, it's about focusing the self. There's a theory which we certainly agree with, which is that at the moment of orgasm, all the different layers of consciousness open up to each other. The deep mind and the daily consciousness and so on, they all open up, and for a brief moment during that orgasm, you can post a message through all the filters of culture and learning and socializing, all the different things that filter you. You can post a message right through all of those into your deepest and most pure version of yourself inside. And once it's there, Burroughs said that sigils work a bit like hieroglyphs. That's why he's so interested in hieroglyphs. They're not linear like normal language. They're a shape, but he thinks they resonate with the nervous system and readjust how it operates, and it becomes this abstract memory. And so if you say, for example, you want to pay the rent, and here's a really good, this is something that really happened. Somebody that we know who was a very well-known art curator wanted to meet the right man and have a baby and various other things, and decided to do the Topi sigil system, one sigil every 23rd of the month for 23 months, and then said to me, "Now what happens?" And we said, "You forget about it. It's in." And it takes the whole universe, whatever it is, a long time for all those little gears and levers and so on to shift and change to get what you've decided you want to have happen. Is you're changing your future slightly by sheer will and focus. Within 6 months, she met Mr. Right and had the baby and said, oh, you were right. That's a really clear example, but it happens all the time. But what people get wrong in a lot of our organizations is this. They see the first part of that, where you're learning how to maximize your potential and get most of the world to give you what you need, and they take it as an ego thing. Oh, that's making me more important, that's making me more powerful. And they stick in that, I am a better person, and I am something special. I am a magician. The lesson you should always learn from any magical system is, if you understand it correctly, you have to become somebody who is of service to everyone else. It's about realizing that nothing has value if you don't give back to everyone. It's about the equivalent of being a monk or a nun or a doctor or a surgeon. All those systems should be teaching us how to give back to the species again in order to help everyone. Otherwise it has no value. What's the point of just being a clever person and rubbing your own back? Oh, I'm so good. I'm so clever. I'm so mysterious. I know all the names of Egyptian gods. And I wear robes. And I burn candles. And I know all about Austin Spare and Alistair Crowley and everybody. Will you have sex with me? We think it's about service and devotion to the species. And that's the real lesson of any system, whatever it is, whatever philosophy or spiritual system or shamanic system, that's what it's about. Sigils are a complicated subject, but we're not just trying to sell you the Bible. It's actually a really good description in there. And it's not just written by me, it's written by different people, so it's a well-rounded version of it. You can probably find it free online if you want to steal it.
But you should buy it, because
It's worth it.
it is worth it, and buying artists' work directly supports them, and being an artist is really incredibly taxing. And
We
it
can
can
tell
really
you one thing,
energy.
it's made my life amazing.
Yeah,
Really has.
yeah,
And the more we give, the more we have fun.
true.
That's the other thing we've discovered.
That's
Going back and giving is just so much more exciting than taking.
It's full of life energy. It's full of life energy and love, and when you have that,
And what do you want to leave behind except something that's better for everyone else?
right? That's the whole point.
Yeah. So, if you're a selfish person, forget it. But if you really care for things, and if you want to know what unconditional love is, and you want to feel something beyond anything the world has told you could have, in terms of emotions and revelations, and really beautiful relationships with people, go the way of the spirit and the soul, every time. Don't you agree, Lady J? Yes? Yes, I do.
She definitely does.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'd like to know if you have anything to say about the importance of art in this period of time when there's quite a lot of saturation and maybe some of the more mediocre stuff is overwhelming all the other stuff. The importance of it being diminished, maybe.
You know, we were good friends with Brian Geisen, who was the real inspiration for a lot of Burroughs ideas, as you probably know. And he used to say there's two kinds of art. There's art that's about the soul, and there's deceptual art. He said most of the art today is deceptual art. We would add that it's also, a lot of it is decorative art. You know, stuff that looks good in penthouses. And what's tended to happen since the YBAs, the Young British Artists, people like Damien Bloody Hirst, with his dots, and his butterflies, and his formula. That's the thing. The formula You see, the rich people want to have a painting that somebody else recognizes. They want to be able for somebody to go into their flat and go, oh, you've got a Damien-Hirst too. Oh, you've got a Basquiat too. I have one at home that's black. But they've got to be able to know what it is, who did it. Otherwise it has no value to them. So artists are being tricked into doing this formless branding, as they like to call it. And my question is always the same. He met this Native American shaman, and he said when he looked at art, he thought this. He thought, is this telling me something about the world I didn't know already? Is this telling people around me something about the world that makes their world better? Is this doing anything for the world at all? And if there's no answers, then it's not art. As far as we're concerned, art has to be about the human state. It's a philosophical inquiry. It's about the nature and the mystery of being alive. Now, what is existence? What is reality? Is this really here? You know, I can take a pill and this is gone. So how real is it? And when you look at quantum physics, nothing's here. Now they're saying it's a hologram. And if all of the universe can be explained in maths, it's maths. So who wrote the mathematical equation that created what this is? That's what art should be about. What the fuck are we? And why are we here? And how can we make this a better place? And how can we just be entranced with the wonder of it? It's just this amazing, amazing experience. Senses, you know, the senses are fantastic. And the brain is fantastic. And we waste it on these little diversions. And people are being trained more and more, unfortunately, sorry MCA, but they're being trained in careerism. They want careers in the art world. We do a lot of talks at art colleges and universities, and we'll always at some point say, so what would you like to do if you could succeed? I want to be rich and famous. For doing what? I don't care, I just want to be rich and famous. That is the most common answer we get. Isn't that awful? I don't care what it's about. I just want to be rich and famous. That's really going to help us get out of this mess, isn't it? You know, the world is a place that we're involved in. And the media are part of that world. And we all have different skills. We believe everybody has a genius factor. Everybody has more potential than someone's told them. And that's where their story is, and that's where their art is. That's their creative place, whatever it is. And they can turn it into something that speaks to other people if they just work at it and they analyze it and they strip it and they say, what am I really trying to say? What do I really, really feel? Is it embarrassing if we tell the truth? Fuck it, we'll tell the truth. What's it going to do? Get uncomfortable? So they should. There's an awful lot of bigotry and hypocrisy and burying of meaning going on. And it's the job of the artist to fight that. We're supposed to change the world. You know, the first art ever was shamanic. And it was to make things happen. To make the sun come back in the morning because they didn't know it would. You know, to make fire come back. To get the buffalo to come again when it was time to migrate. Because they didn't understand the linear time. So they didn't know if anything would repeat. So constantly they're trying to make things happen, to make the world a better place, to help their whole community survive. That's where it began. And then it became about, what is it inside me that makes me want to do that? And that's where it becomes about the spirit. That's what art should be for, in our personal opinion. It's about changing the world, speaking to the world, telling your truth, and finding out what is your truth, and not being afraid to share it no matter what people say. And we've had a lot of attacks, as you must know, but you just keep doing it because you have to say there's nothing, they can't stop me, except by killing me, and if they do that, there's nothing we can do to stop them. So you keep going. It's not always easy. It sucked when Lady J dropped her body, but she's still involved in everything we do anyway. Half the art we make is things she thought of already, or things that she's involved in, or photographs she's already taken. Now she's always there. So the world can be manipulated by the artist in really wonderful ways. And you can re-explore it in ways that you didn't know there were. You know, that's why we travel so much. The other thing we tell everybody is, please travel. outside the United fucking States.
Questions on this side? All right, way in the back, give me 1 sec.
Life is good.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I had a question. I'm a transgender woman, and how do we go about living in this extremely terrifying time with people passing all these bills, trying to limit where we can use the restroom and where we can go? I'm just really terrified, and it's been on my mind frequently, every day.
Well, we have the same issue. We live as female. We were just, when we went down to Tennessee, for example, we realized it was getting really bad because every single gas station we stopped at had a handwritten sign, usually spelled wrong, that said, "Real women only." Every one. And the only signs we saw on lawns were Trump. And we mentioned it, I think at the beginning we mentioned that they're petrified of the dissolution of maleness. That's what's scaring them. And so, the other thing they always do is they always have to scapegoat some minority, whether it's black people, or whether it's Jews, or whether it's trans, LGBTQ, whatever it is, it has to be something to distract us from the real story. And unfortunately, we're the ones at the end of the spike at the moment. The only thing you can do is be proud and strong and sensible. You know? We had a weird experience a long time ago. We were in JFK with Lady J, and we were going somewhere, and at the time we were still acting male, I guess, but we were feminized too. No makeup, but people were beginning to think we were feminized. We didn't have breasts yet. And so we went to the male's toilet, we went to the gents' toilet to go pee, and this guy blocked the way and said, "You can't go in there, madam. It's the men's toilet." I went, "Well, I'm a man." "No, madam, you can't go in there. It's the men's toilet." Then he got a cop. And the cop came over and said, "Madam, you can't go in there. That's the gentleman's toilet." We said, "I'm a gentleman. Are you listening?" He said, "Madam, you have to use that toilet, the women's toilet, or I will arrest you." I said, "You're making me break the law." And he said, "Madam," and he was going to arrest me. So I had to use, and ever since I've used the ladies' toilet. Ever since. And so far, nobody's said a word. But of course it's scary. It's more scary in the South. You know, we're very lucky. We're on the East Coast. And then there's the West Coast. And Lady J always said those were two separate countries. You know, and the middle is the scary bit. And the middle down south is really, really scary. And yet, the radical fairies are down there still, and they survive. But I do wonder about that. What if somebody figures out where they are, just some rednecks?
I just thought about that too, it really scares me.
Because those people are not thinking. Those are just sort of mindless chimpanzees that have been set in motion by prejudice. And it's very scary. I mean, you have to make your decisions which fights to take. And stay away from dangerous places. That battle, how long will it last is the real question.
Yeah.
You know, how long can they keep it going? It's a difficult one. It's still very much in a state of flux. And we feel for you. I mean, we never got scared going in the ladies' toilet until recently. Now we do think about it.
Yeah.
After being down south.
Right.
That suddenly made me think, oh shit, what if I come out as a trucker?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, be careful and pick your battles. I don't know, we'll find a way. Something will occur because of this pressure that's building. There will be demonstrations. Maybe we'll start doing things like a whole load of us will go into the ladies' toilet at once and just occupy it, 100 of us. And maybe get fined and arrested and then come out. But, there's going to be ways to fight back, just like there were at Stonewall, There's always ways to change it round, or we'll find some strategy to ridicule it so that it just becomes ridiculous. It's likely that Trump will be so busy pretending he's not Russian, we don't have time to worry about Chinese anymore. You know, who knows? It's a difficult one.
It is.
And we have a lot of friends with that issue, of course, right now. Good luck, be careful. But we'll come up with strategies, we always do.
There are so many of them out there, and there's so much love and
It's too
passion.
late, it's out of the bag.
Yeah, and there's so much love and passion, especially in the queer and trans community, that like I feel like that can't be stopped at this point. Like,
It's just a fight we thought we'd won,
yeah,
and it's been a bit of a shock to realise that they brought it back, that
Yeah.
whole bigotry again.
yeah.
But I'm sure it's about the realisation of maleness dissolving. It's no longer a permanent state.
Right, it's losing power, and that is terrifying to people.
Well, to those horrible old men.
Yeah.
The other good news is they're all old. They're all going to die off in the next 20 years. 20 years, they'll all be gone like me. And I'll be fighting them in heaven. Come in. Show me your genitals first.
You and Lady J together.
Yes.
With linked arms.
She'll just kick him, she won't ask a question.
I think we've got time for one last question, perhaps from this side of the auditorium. Oh, right there.
I was wondering if you could tell us about any good modern music outside of your projects that you're admiring currently.
We can't remember the last time we played any music outside on stage. We don't play music at home at all. So we're pretty ignorant. We can say we're going on tour with Aaron Dillaway in February, and we like him. But we tend to improvise on stage live. We never rehearse either. So it's too boring. So everybody around me that does music is baffled that we never listen to music. But we have. Don't forget, we're 67 in February, so we've listened to a hell of a lot of music since the 60s. And we remember Elvis beginning, and we remember the Beatles and everybody beginning. We were in Manchester and Liverpool when that happened, you know, and then we saw the Stones in 65. We were in Hyde Park when they played, and we saw all those people. So, you know, Pink Floyd, we did light shows for. So we've seen a lot, and we've absorbed a lot, and sometimes you need time off, different amounts of time off, where you just let it all percolate. I mean, that's why we went to Africa, to listen to the voodoo drumming too. You know, so you go outside the box and listen to things that you wouldn't normally come across. So that would be my source of inspiration. And my main job now is words. And mainly we do the words now. That's become my real focus. And we let the others do the music. We pick very carefully who we play with now. And that's the nice dynamic, is the unexpected. Improvising in a moment with words, with something you didn't know was going to come, and having to do it there in front of everybody, and somehow make it seem to make sense or work or have some impact. Challenges. We like challenges. Important. But I can't recommend anything really, because I don't know anything. Sorry.
Okay, I was really just joking about one last question. For real now, one last question.
Thank you. I was going to ask, besides music, what about like authors? Like, what are you reading now? Like, what's new? Like, who like after, who are the modern writers? Who are the like modern Burroughs and Geisens? Like, who are you reading now? Who inherited that tradition?
Oh, who knows? What we're reading at the moment is all these books about the Brotherhood of Eternal Love in California, who were these surfers down in Ventura, San Diego area, who got given some LSD one night, and they all saw God together and decided it was their job to give everybody on the planet some LSD. And they were basically just these sort of redneck surfers who became spiritual psychedelic pioneers, and they found a guy who could produce tens of millions of tabs of acid. At one point, they had over 100 million tabs of acid. And they were giving it away, pretty much, and spreading it around the world. And they were so naive that they didn't get caught for years. Then one of them found out they had the best hash in Afghanistan. So they drove there in a Volkswagen bus through Europe to Afghanistan, filled it all up with hash, and drove it back to America and shipped it across the ocean, picked it up and took it home. And the cops didn't even know what hash was then, so they did that loads of tons. They were taking like half a ton at a time back to San Diego and giving it all away. And the insanity of it is just brilliant. And they had no idea that they were doing anything bad. And then they moved to, some of them got caught. Timothy Leary lived with them for a while. They bought a ranch, then it got raided. They moved to Hawaii, and they had all this money because they were so much money. They were filling trash cans with money and burying it all over the desert because they didn't know what to do with all this money. And they're still finding it. People dig them up in their gardens and find huge amounts of money or hash. It's so insane. It's brilliant. So they rang up Jimi Hendrix and said they wanted him to come and do a free concert in Hawaii for them because they all love Jimi Hendrix. So he went with his manager, and they made that film. It's called Rainbow Bridge. That's the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. They brought him over, and there's this brilliant anecdote. They said he seemed a bit shy. He did a first set of his usual songs, and he didn't seem happy with it. He came back to the house and looked pissed off. So we gave him 3 joints dipped in DMT. And he played for 2 hours, and he was brilliant. Whoa.
Listen, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, they're wonderful. The naive wonder of it and the love that's there. Now, it completely changed them. In the end, they all got busted, nearly all of them. But they're not angry. They're still around, the ones that are alive. And they're just so sweet. Sweet and loving and funny. You just think that's how it's supposed to be. You know, you take your knocks, but you just do it. You go out and you say, why not? Why the hell not?
Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
Life is great. Things like that, they just inspire me. Everyone's like, yes, you can do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the opportunities change, or the medium changes, or the things you're trying to break change, but you can still do stuff. There's always a way to do something.
The idea of saying yes to life, like huge and important. All right.
Send out a load of anarchists.
On behalf of the MCA program, I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight for this incredible conversation. Thank you so much.